So Zosh's Integra, at this point the shock towers have been extended. That's pretty much wrapping up for the metal work, but I still need to do a little bit more metal work on the upper radiator support. I need to fix that area that had been cut out for the old turbo to fit in there because we're not using that anymore. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up all the metal work, do a little bit of filler, maybe a little bit of primer. I don't know exactly where this is gonna go, but we're definitely gonna make a little bit of progress.
And now, you're watching the Real Eyes, Real Lies, Real Lies channel of YouTube. Welcome to Bodevision.
Hey, so what is up and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me on yet another video. So I don't know if you saw it, 2 videos back on the Integra videos go after the podcast. It was the video from last week. I went ahead and I picked this up from the junkyard, and now this was just something that I got, you know, upper radiator support. And this cut, I made sure to overcut on this one, and then I'm gonna undercut, or I kind of shaped it out on the actual car to make it look a little bit easier to work with. So I went ahead and trimmed that, and then this is how this piece looks. Now I have the other piece just sitting in there, so I'm gonna go ahead and clean up the car a little bit with my flap disc. Then I'm gonna use my magnet to put that other piece in there, get that piece welded in, get that piece ground down a little bit, and then we'll go from there. Alrighty, so that's definitely looking really good. Now I was thinking I don't really like where that big square is, so what I ended up doing, I just kind of did the same thing I did with the shock tower extensions. I used this little paper. This is that size right there, and then that metal was obviously just sitting in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and weld that in there. And that'll look really good. Then I'm gonna grind that down a little bit. And now when you're doing welds like this, you gotta make sure you get really good penetration, and you can see on the underside of it that the weld is all the way through. If it's not all the way through, when you go ahead and grind down that weld, you're just gonna separate the pieces again. So make sure it's nice and hot. Make sure it's as hot as it could possibly be without burning through, or if it is burning through, just kind of slow down a little bit. Alright, so here's how we look now. Now, one thing that I wanted to point out, since I'm gonna have to do a little bit of filler and there was all of those holes there, I thought it would just be more beneficial for me, and it's also gonna look better in the end if I weld all of those holes shut. So I did the square right here, and then there was all these holes in here. I wanted to add a little more weld in there, same with right there. And then now I'm gonna grind all those down to be nice and smooth. Again, not down completely. We still wanna make sure there's something there, some kind of meat in the weld. And then once that's all grounded down, nice and smooth, then I'm gonna go ahead and do some filler over it. Now this is actually how you shave an entire engine bay, and I've done it before. I did it on this hatch right there. That's the hatch that I built when I was in high school, and that's how you do it. It takes a very long time. You gotta fill in all of the holes, and we just don't have time. We just don't have the budget for that on this car. But this little area, it'll look good. And again, doing this right now, taking this extra time right now is actually going to save me a lot of time in the future, because I don't want to deal with all those holes there as I'm trying to do filler and then avoiding the holes. So right now I'm just going to go ahead and grind this down, and it'll just take a couple minutes, and then filler is going to be really quickly, as opposed to dealing with the filler in those holes. Alrighty, now that's nice and ground down and looking like it should at this point. So the next thing I gotta do is I just gotta get some filler mixed up. I gotta skim that over those areas. I also need to put some filler on the shock tower extensions because that's what it needs. I'm just gonna use a little bit because that's always the goal. Use as little filler as you possibly can, and that's gonna make sure it lasts as long as possible. Quality, longevity, all that stuff. Everything that I strive for as I'm building a car. So got to get the filler mixed up, and then I'll, you know. So at this point, right here, right now, we are actually looking at not just the following day, it is actually 2 days later from when that last clip was filmed. Now, yesterday and the first 5 hours of today, I've just been busting my knuckles over here, getting in right here with the sandpaper and just really kind of killing your hands. That's the only thing that you can do. That's the only way that I found to be able to do this, is to just say that, you know, my hands are just gonna get, you know, knuckle busted all day long. But either way, in the end, they came out really nicely. I mean, if you can see, they look good. I know it's kind of hard to tell right now, but they are nice and smooth, and I might put a little bit of primer on them while I'm sanding down the rest of the base, so that way that area or those areas can end up getting 2 layers of primer. So that way I'm gonna do primer on those specific areas, sand down the entire bay along with that primer, and then prime everything. That way, like I'm saying, those areas will get extra attention just because they were so modified and so messed with. But I'm not too sure yet. I don't know yet if I'm committed to doing that. That's one thing about me over here. I just kind of do what I want in reality. I don't know. I don't know exactly what I'm going to be doing in the next clip. I don't know exactly what I'm going to be doing the rest of the day. But if you just keep working on it, eventually you finish it, right? So I'm just about done playing musical chairs, musical cars over here. We got Pepto, we got the Hellcat Swap Miata. Had to get that out from over here, and as you can see, we got Christina sitting here in all her glory, pretty much ready to go. Shock tower's extended, that fixed. Basically everything that I was hoping to do, we did get done. But honestly, at this point, at this day, right now that I'm recording this, this is the end of the day, Thursday. This video is going to hopefully be up Friday. But either way, I was hoping at this point, at the end of this week, I would be done. But unfortunately, you know, stuff takes a little longer than we're expecting sometimes, and that's just part of it. So now that I got the car over here, I saw a couple more areas that need a little bit more attention, but ultimately this is where the car is going to sit, where it gets painted. I'm not going to cause too much more dust, so what I'm going to do right now is get the rest of these things out of here. The upper control arms right there, the coilovers right there, both sides, and then I just got to figure out exactly what else I'm going to pull off. Alrighty, so now everything that's going to be off is about off. I was gonna take off the subframe, but I think I'm just gonna leave it on there and go ahead and do it black after the fact, or do it black before it and then mask it off. Either way, it's gonna look really good. And for this car, for what it is, I think that's gonna be just fine. And also, I wanted to mention to you guys, you have to understand, on a car like this, I'm limited by a time limit, by a budget. For example, how I shaved this area Yeah, it would have been nice to shave absolutely everything, but one, that would take a very long time. Two, this is not even my car. I can only do what I am told to do on a vehicle, and then also, you know what I mean? I think you guys know what I'm saying. I can't just do everything 100% because if the money's not right, if the budget isn't right, and if that's not even in the game plan, which it's not on this one. This one, the game plan is to just do it and make it look good, and I'm sure that Zosh is going to be very happy with how it comes out because that's what we discussed, that's what he wanted, and I'm doing actually more than what we discussed by fixing some of those things, extending the shock towers to make them completely custom, and just a couple different things along those lines. So right now, I was hoping you'd see the engine bay painted by now, but what that means is in the next video, you'll see the entire thing primed and painted all in one video. So that's going to be extremely satisfying. So make sure you subscribe to check that out. And I think that's going to do it for this one. So thank you guys so much for watching. Like this video, comment, subscribe, do all the stuff. You know what it is, YouTube. Check out the merch. I'm out. Oh, no, dude, I'm leaving. Forget about this.